We are very fortunate to have a unique relationship. And after 33 years together, we have some wisdom to share on how to love each other well.
But we had to work to get there because we went through some hardships that threatened everything. But we were always committed to wholeness, always dancing together through the movement of life. We always sought love and healing, even when it was hard.
Many of you have great relationships too. Many of you don't. Today, we want to share some of our keys and hope that it has something to offer to you, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome back to, hopefully back, or for the first time, to the FreedHearts podcast. This is episode 27. My name is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
We are coming to you today from Seattle. I got mountains to the left of me, ocean to the right, and here I am, baby, stuck in the middle with you, stuck in a beautiful way. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's a song. That's from a song for our younger viewers.
Viewers, listeners. If anyone's sitting there staring at your phone, maybe it's time to do something else while you're listening to our podcast. But yeah, and we have mountains to the left and oceans to the right, depending on which direction I'm facing, and we are stuck in the middle with each other. And there's no place I would rather be.
Aww,
than
that
with
is
you.
Very sweet.
So you may want to get out.
Gotcha.
You may want to watch your blood sugar count on this. This could get a little sappy, a little sweet during this episode, but it's going to be real. Because today, we're going to talk about our relationship, our keys to a happy relationship, 33 years and counting.
Yes.
But before we do that, I want to share something. We encourage you to come and say hello at freedhearts.org. We have no ads on this podcast yet, hopefully sometime soon, but no ads by choice on this podcast. And we're only able to do this and all of our programs through the kindness of others. We are a 501c3 nonprofit charity, so any gifts are deductible to the full extent of the law. And we've never talked about this on the podcast, but if you like this podcast, if you like what we do, please consider a special gift or consider joining our monthly support team. It would mean so much, and it really helps make all of this possible. All the details are at freedhearts.org. Just click on donate. Or if you want to go ahead and make a donation and you have Venmo, you can do that easily and quickly. We are at FreedHearts. So at FreedHearts, you'll see Susan's name and our logo, and that's quick and easy and so appreciated. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the last few episodes have talked about some serious and some heavy subjects. And we wanted to lighten it up a little bit today and talk about us. Because we are just built that way. We want to talk about us. Yeah?
Yes, we do. We want to talk about our relationship and everything that we've learned over all these years. And it's when you come from a dysfunctional relationship, family, as really most of us do, it's hard to know what's healthy and what isn't it?
Yeah.
How would we know?
Well, and a lot of people are out there kind of because of what they saw or went through with their own parents. They think, well, it's normal to continually trash somebody, or it's normal to do this, and it's normal. And you're right. It's hard to know what's healthy and what's not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're really fortunate, you and I, Rob.
Yeah.
We've had a unique relationship from the very beginning, and we just think we have a lot to offer to help people understand what goes into a good relationship. And also, we had to work to get there.
Mm-hmm.
We went through hardships that could have wrecked us. And we were always committed to wholeness. And I love that.
Yeah.
We always sought love and healing, even when it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And many of you out there have great relationships too. We know, people who listen to us who are in very good relationships,
mm-hmm.
and many who don't. And so we're here to talk today about ours and hope that it has something to offer you wherever you are.
Yeah, let's just talk about some of these things, some of these keys. One of the keys is certainty. No.
No, it's not.
And jokes. Dad, I have lots of jokes, right?
Yes. Yes, you do, honey.
Is that a key to a happy relationship?
Humor is.
Wow. For those listening, she didn't answer. Humor is. Oh, well. Wow.
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
And encouraging your partner is real key here. She's cold, dark honesty.
Oh my God.
Wow.
This comes from
No.
having had conversation about dad jokes.
I have dad jokes and the difference between dad jokes and humor. I got it. All right. So let's just talk about some keys. Anyway. And we love one of the we love each other. That's pretty clear. So one of the things and this is really important. And we always, when I talk about, are you okay?
I'm just laughing. That was very funny to me. Okay, go ahead.
See, I am funny, or it is funny. I'm not sure which.
Humor's a big part.
Don't go there again. We've been down that road. This is one of the first things that we talk about when we talk to our own kids and when we give the much appreciated, never asked for advice to our children. That's not true, but this is the first one, and this is a big one, is that no negative talk.
Yes.
We don't, and I know you know people, despite what we just did. No, but it's no negative talk. No, well, you're so stupid. You just did this, or you forgot that thing. You're so stupid. Yeah.
Or I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Oh, little digging negative things that are just joking. But they're not joking.
And there's a couple that comes to mind. I won't mention them on the air because they may be listening. But it's just, oh my gosh, it weighs me down to hear, hey, fatso, when are you gonna just, oh my gosh. And it's ha 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 ha. And I'm not built that way. I'm not wired that way. I don't like that. Mm-hmm. I know there's kind of guys do that a lot with each other, locker room kind of talk stuff and blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about your spouse, your wife or your husband, and we just don't do negative talk about each other. We don't say awful things about each other to bring each other down. We just don't do it.
And I grew up with that. I grew up with negative talk.
Yeah.
And
I did more with the passive negative talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it takes its toll, and it does something to your concept of yourself and your concept of life. So we don't do that.
Yeah. All of it. I mean, if you do that, all of a sudden you're not safe.
Yes.
If Susan, if you did that to me and said those kind of things to me, my heart would not be safe with you.
Right.
And when that happens, everything crumbles from that point. Yeah. Everything falls from that point. My heart has to be safe. And if I can't trust you, or if like you said, you had it growing up and I forget exactly what you said, but it
just takes its toll.
Yes. Thank you. It takes its toll. And what toll is that? Is that really what you want to do? Is to build up a toll with your spouse?
Take your toll with your spouse every time they do something. They have to wonder if you're going to charge them, so to speak. You're going to make them pay in their sense of self.
Right.
I mean, to just take it for one more second, if you look in the mirror, none of us do this ever, anywhere. And every time you see yourself, you say, oh, you're a little fat, or you're a little, oh, I don't like your chin, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're taking a toll from yourself that makes you not safe for yourself. And it's something to overcome and to shift. The same thing, your partner needs to be in that way, safety-wise, like a second skin, like you would share that with somebody. Yeah. And very few of us really are that way with other people fully. Yeah. But your partner, you want that in your partner.
Well, this relationship that we have has to be safe. My heart has to be safe because, honestly, it's not safe with other people a lot of the time. and it's not safe in the world. So in a life situation in the world that really is committed to convincing me that I'm less than, I need to have a place where my heart is safe, and that's you. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, same here.
So we don't do negative talk, and so that's a big one. No negative talk. Along that same line, we don't joke about divorce.
No.
You know what I mean? We don't say,
yes,
well, I'm going to leave you if you, whatever it is. We don't joke about divorce.
Yes. I was with a couple that was dating, and one of them did something like was winning at the game they were playing. And the other one said, you better change your ways or I'm going to call you an Uber. And I just thought inside, this is not a good relationship. This is not a safe relationship. And it's true. That's the first date equivalent of talking about divorce. Yeah. It's like when that eject button, your fingers, when there is an eject button, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. It's a weird thing that we do is
makes it not safe.
It's almost like you can someone can look at a photograph of you and say 1,000 nice things and say one comment about whatever, your hair, your chin, whatever. And that's what you're going to latch onto. So we can have this great relationship, but there's that one little joke about divorce, and it sits in there and it gnaws away, and we don't forget it. And what we do is we take a step back to protect ourselves. And then that's just trouble from that point. So we don't joke about divorce. So we encourage you not to joke about divorce either.
Yeah.
Something else is a willingness to give up your point for the sake of the other person's self-esteem. I don't have to be right. I don't have to make sure that my point is heard, especially about minor kind of things that go on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just if it's going to damage or hurt your self-esteem in some way.
Yeah.
You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. And that's a learned thing. That's a developed trait too. But it feels like, again, my family of origin, my dad.
Well, it's where we were trained.
It's where we were trained. Yeah. Would say things that were so, damaging. And you pull a step back, and there was no willingness to just say, it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. It was commitment to right above all else. And we've got a lot of that in our society.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to do that to each other.
Yeah. And you tend to hear that sometimes when it goes, well, I told you we should have checked the map.
Yeah.
That's
usually the wrong time to say that.
Because what it says is that...
Well, I told you there was glass there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that now at this point.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Willingness to give up your point for the sake of the other person's self-esteem. Something else that we encourage you is to not let the sun go down on your anger.
Yeah.
You've heard that, and sometimes we've heard it so much that it becomes, oh yeah, okay. But don't go to bed angry. That's hard. I don't know if you sleep well or not when you do that, but I don't.
Yeah.
But don't let the sun go down on your anger.
And we have a couple of times where we do go to bed angry, and it is not good. It's not a good night's sleep.
No.
I will say though, let me say this. That doesn't mean you have to nail everything down. And it's 10 o'clock and you're arguing, or it's midnight and you're arguing about something because you're not going to go to bed angry. Well, you can set the keys aside, the subject of it aside, and just be, I love you. I know we need to talk about this more, but let's go to bed and get a good night's sleep and not hammer everything out.
And doing that, even in that moment, what you're doing is you're saying, there's you and me.
Yes, there's you and me.
There's us. That's. I know we have things to work out here, but there's us, and I love you, and we will work it out.
Yeah, and in line with these two things, one thing, just a housekeeping thing is, we learned somewhere along the way not to talk about heavy things after, say, 9 o'clock. We just don't bring something up that's big after 9 o'clock because you want to be de-stressing at that point.
That's a good point.
So we've done that. And then, and the other thing is just that every one of these things we're talking about really is about maintaining a place of safety
Yeah.
with each other, a safety for your heart. It doesn't mean you don't say hard things. You have to say hard things to be authentic and intimate, but you have to keep it to be a safe place for each other's heart.
Always comes from that place. And if you think about it, when you have had to hear difficult things from a counselor or a teacher or family member or something like that, do you not respond better when you know your heart is safe with that person?
Yes.
Or when you think that it's not safe, then you can't really trust the advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes. So there's a theme here, or there's an underlying truth in all of this, that do whatever you need to do to make sure that the other person's heart feels safe. And that seems like, well, what about my heart? That is a natural consequence of focusing on the other person. You know what I mean when I say that?
Yes. In other words, if I say, okay, you were right, even though you weren't right, then what happens to me? And we're not saying that. We're saying both of you in concert with each other.
Yeah.
I don't think usually one of us will stake a claim at the expense of the other.
Yeah, that's right. It's just not worth it. The claims are not worth it to do that. Like we just said, for me to say, well, I was right on this and I'm going to be right and proven right, and it's going to cost you.
Right.
99.99% of things are not worth that.
Right.
If not 100%, but it's just not worth that. You can come together in concert, like you said, and
we have that out there in the world. We're fighting tooth and nail, it feels like, very often in the world. And we don't need that in our home with our partner.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry.
No. I feel like we sometimes maybe overstate everything.
Well, it's really important.
It's really important stuff. And it's unfamiliar to a lot of us.
And we know you're just there viewing your phone. That was so cute. So now we know you're on your walk. So you're okay. You're okay. You don't mind hanging out with us for a bit, do you? Good, thanks. Well, no one objected. I didn't hear anything. So the next little key here is remain teachable. You have to be teachable. As I talk to our kids about job resumes and job interviews, I mention often that, yes, I did say often. We'll talk about that later. Often that you want to convey that you're teachable. What you don't know, what you are dealt with, things that you learn, that you're always teachable. And that's really important in relationships.
Yes.
We have to be willing to grow and be willing to be teachable in all things. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not teachable, then you're saying you know everything, which is a pretty insubstantial claim. Like it's not very tenable, not very supportable.
Yeah.
I want to point out too that it's really important that it's not one person in the relationship always doing these things and not the other. That it's always one kind of pulling back and saying it's okay or whatever. That it's not one being the one that's always teachable in terms of, yes, honey, you're right. Yes, honey, you're right. Yeah. Just like last week. Yes, honey, you're right.
Well, if that's what's happening, the other person is suspect on their motivations, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. What happens?
This is a give and take.
Yeah. I hate to bring this up because I'm always watching the clock a bit, but what do you do if you're in that kind of, if you're listening to this and you go, well, I'm willing to do all these things, but my spouse is not this way. They're not teachable. They are mean. What do you do?
I mean, you can direct you. You can't direct them. And part of directing you is you can decide what you're willing to be okay with and what you're not willing to be okay with. And so if you have a situation where the same chord keeps playing in this person, it may be time to say, this is troubling me. I think maybe it would be good to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Can we talk to somebody?
Counseling is a very good thing too.
When it's a good person doing it, it's a good thing. It can be very helpful.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just keep the peace. And once you start really looking at your relationship, sometimes there are hard decisions to make. On the other hand, there's sometimes you pull ahead of the other one, so to speak, a little bit in your willingness to look at something, in your willingness and your ability to see your own shortcomings, or however you want to put it. And there's give and take. I know you have given a lot when I've gone through my tough times, and I have done the same for you.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of holding hands through this journey. And sometimes we need a rope to hold hands with, because we're not kind of in the same place.
Well, sometimes you lead, and sometimes you grab on for dear life and follow too.
Yes. But you're always trying to make it so that you both have more safety. If we're hiking and my pack gets heavy and I'm just about to sit on a rock and cry, then you might take the pack for me, even though you've got your own, for a little bit while I recover and walk with you so that I can make it. And then I'll take it back, and then I'll give you water when you've run out or whatever. There's a give and take with the intention of making it through together.
Yeah.
And if it's abusive, then it's a different situation. If you have somebody hitting you, threatening you, always being negative, all that is a different situation.
Yeah, and we just can't do that justice here in a few minutes, but that's and we encourage you, if that's a situation you're in, to talk to somebody, to get some help, or to get some counsel. But I think sometimes, if I'm the one that has to be right in this, and you keep going along with that, I'm going to lose respect for you.
Yes.
And that's not going to end well. It's going to get worse.
Yes.
If I'm the one that has to be right, and I see in you growth and the way that you treat yourself and the love you have for yourself and others, that in many cases will be appealing to me and will draw me into considering something, to being teachable in that moment that I may not have been before.
Yes. That's a great way to put that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That, we learn by contrast, I think. And when you see me being away, or I see you cheerful a lot of times, even when things are hard. And it has really lifted my spirits and made me more cheerful when I haven't felt like it. So when you see the other person be that way, because remember, you only have control over you.
Right.
That's
really
helps you.
Yeah, and that's really the point here, is that you really only have control over you.
Yes.
So you do you treat yourself the way that you deserve to be treated. You love yourself that way, and
in a way that serves you well.
Yeah, it has to start with that. So, and also, by the way, I will always take your backpack because you have chocolate. You usually have better chocolate. So, okay, thanks for that. That was along the same lines. We don't speak to each other with contempt. We don't have contempt towards each other. I think that was kind of along the line what we talked about. But we talked about the teaching of contempt in our lives. Did you want to say something?
We talked about that in a couple different episodes, that the teaching of contempt is at the core of every relationship that doesn't work out. Well, that's a big statement, but of prejudice, of mistreating groups of people, comes from an underlying teaching of contempt. And in a marriage, when you're rolling your eyes or you're shaking your head, waiting for them to stop saying that stupid thing they're saying, or other ways that you're expressing and experiencing contempt, that's a sign of a problem. When the contempt is there, it's probably a matter of time on the relationship, is what the studies say.
Yeah. And that's really subtle sometimes. I think we have to be willing to look at, well, damn, I did roll my eyes there. Mm-hmm. Gee whiz. You know what I mean? Because it's so ingrained in society and in each other, and actually in what society says about relationships.
Yes.
And how we've been trained by our own parents, that we oftentimes we almost always start from a deficit.
Right.
In this. So being teachable in that and being aware, kind of looking at ourselves and how we're being with the other person is revealing.
Yeah. And if you're rolling your eyes, you probably grew up with that modeled and, internalized. So anyway, contempt is something that you may not be able to fix.
Yeah.
Is, I guess, what I think is true.
And I think we need to be able to give somebody the freedom to be independent, to grow into the person that you are. I've seen you change and grow and develop without that being a threat to me.
Yes. Yes.
And if it is, again, that reveals a lot. Sometimes the things that we deal with in relationships, especially this intimate one, most intimate one, reveals a lot about the stuff, the deeper issues that we're dealing with. And I need to give you the freedom to be independent. And in fact, we're recording this and you're about to go on a writing retreat for a few days, right, which will give me a few days to kind of unplug. And that's okay. That's not a threat to either one of us.
Right.
So to be independent, to grow, to do what you need to do without it being a threat to me.
Yes. Otherwise, you have codependence, which is a whole different situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of communication things here. When speaking from yourself, instead of saying, you make me feel, you made me this,
which is not true.
Which is not true. It's, when this happens, I felt this way. Or when this happened, I felt that way.
Yes.
That's a big difference.
Yes. And it helps the other person not get defensive. Anytime I say, you made me feel, it's going to draw out the shield from that other person, because nobody wants to be attacked.
Yeah.
But when I say, when you do this, what happens for me?
Yeah, when that happens, yes.
Or when that happens, because I need to be able to say, this is what my thinking is.
Yeah.
This is what happens internally for me. Then you're able to say, oh, I did not know that, and vice versa. And so it's speaking from self gives the other person, it keeps you from attacking the other person or from them feeling attacked, really.
Yeah. That's a
Clears
good point.
up a lot of things.
Yeah. And on the same thing, when you're in a communication, or in a discussion, things are not going well. Oftentimes it's repeating back what you heard. Like what I heard you say here is that when I raise my voice, you feel attacked and whatever it is. So saying what I hear you saying is sometimes a good thing to summarize, because no, that's not what I meant at all.
Yeah. And that's that's a common thing they do in counseling or whatever. And so it's easy to ridicule, but the idea is true, that you're saying, help me understand what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of idea.
Yeah. Well, it avoids a lot of how many arguments have you had out there? Have we had that a day or two later, it's like, oh my gosh, that's what you meant?
Yes.
If I only would have known that, I would. But it's like trigger, respond, defensiveness. And I think sometimes if you stop in the moment and say, well, what I hear you saying is this, or it can help really avoid a lot of that.
Yes.
Also, it's little things too, like there's a big difference in saying I'm sorry and I was wrong. This just came to mind for me, is that, and you've heard this when you were kids, said, I'm sorry. Well, really? Are you really? Because you don't really sound like it.
And what does it mean to be sorry anyway?
Yeah, I'm sorry you got caught. I'm sorry I'm in trouble. I'm sorry.
Well, and also, I'm sorry is this internal state now that the other person's responsible for. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I feel bad. I'm sorry. And you're shrinking rather than,
I was wrong.
I was wrong.
I was wrong for this or that.
Because, and I'm sorry is almost like it is a diminishment of you as a person, but I was wrong for.
That's a big statement right there.
From shame as a person. Yeah. And it becomes about the thing I did. Like, man, I was wrong to, whatever it is, it's more specified. Even if it's wrong I was wrong. I've been wrong for not listening to you well.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are jokes and things about, well, I've never said I was wrong. I don't ever say I'm wrong. Well, that's a big thing. So that's a powerful statement to say, I was wrong for this. So that's something we'd encourage you to do because it really solidifies the situation, I think. Yeah. Okay, so we're a little bit short on time, and I hate that. But now we want you to know that this is just us. Everyone's journey is different. There are some core truths here that I hope that you are picking up on and that we're effectively conveying.
Yes.
But everyone's journey is different. And we have had difficult times.
Yeah. Well, and there's, a couple things. There's this verse I've always loved, actually in the book of Peter. It says, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way. And that goes for both people, both directions. But I love that idea because it's not, okay, husbands, bring your wives flowers once a month and do this, have a date. It's more, live with your wives in an understanding way, makes it be about the relationship and not a to-do list. And we would all do well to live with each other in an understanding way. And that's something you grow in and you learn to do and you learn about each other. So it's really about dancing with your partner or your children or your close friends, dancing with your partner in the movement of life and working together in partnership, which I think is a really beautiful image.
I like the way you dance. That's beautiful. It's about dancing with your partner in the movement of life. I like that.
Thank you, honey. I love you too, baby. And I also want to say that we probably should acknowledge that tough couple of years we had.
Mm-hmm. You have a name for them, right?
I call them the years from hell.
You're welcome.
It was about 15 to 18 years ago.
It was around 2009 or so.
Oh, okay.
2009, 2010. Okay. So about 12 years ago. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay. And it was a few years, and it was a restructuring of our whole relationship. And it was very scary. But if you marry somebody in your 20s, say, and then you grow to your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, you're going to have to restructure, recalibrate, because you're both growing so much. Hopefully you're growing. You don't want to be held to how you were in your 20s. And so you need to be able to recalibrate. And it's kind of like moving into a starter home and then, a home, and then you don't change anything for 50 years. There are going to be a lot of problems in that home. And so, but it was very hard. Yeah.
We have been married now 33 years, 34 this year, and we are 61 years old. And so this would have been, again, 11, 12 years ago. And it was not, they were difficult. And I love the way you just put that it was a restructuring. It was, we got some help in bringing some things to light that we needed to work on. And we were teachable and we were kind to each other in the process. And we were not mean and hurtful. And
even though we were hurt and we had to resolve that. Excuse me, I just totally interrupted you.
No. Go ahead.
But we had to recalibrate things.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. Again, like you said, the starter home. What comes when you do renovation is something beautiful.
Yeah.
The renovation, you've seen it on social media, the pictures of, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of doing cabinets in the kitchen or the floor, and look how awful it looks. But then, wow, look at our new cabinets in the kitchen and in the,
and renovation takes longer than you think.
Yeah.
Usually costs more than you think. More has to be done than you thought.
Yeah.
But then the house is more beautiful than you imagined.
So like we just said about going to sleep angry, we, even in the midst of the difficult times, although it was not always clear, I think we were always committed to each other.
Yes.
And we were all.
You said that several times. You said, I know this is hard, This is really hard, but we're looking at the long game here.
Yeah.
We're doing this for the long term. And that was a huge comfort to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and sometimes you just need to do that again. Don't be, just because you have to go through a construction project in your home, a renovation of your marriage, doesn't mean that you still don't have the home. It means what you'll end up with if you go through it is something more beautiful. So it can be really scary and really difficult, but stay together in it. You know what I mean? Stay connected in it.
Yeah. Even if you have to move out of the home for a short time.
Yeah.
While you do it, it's worth it. But all of that was really to say, we have a spectacular marriage, but we didn't just appear this way, even, with everything great that we started with.
Yeah.
We had to grow and learn and meld and blend and shave off rough edges and form and mature and gain wisdom and all of that.
Yeah.
But we did it.
Because we didn't start with this example from our own parents. We had our issues in our marriage, but we were always in it together and always will be. So
we were codependent, really, and we had to we had to find out what that meant and change that.
So that's actually a good little segue, and I want to give a little plug here. And we don't make this known because it's something very, very select and very limited. But you, Susan, do some personal counseling.
I do.
You offer that. Again, very select, very limited amount. If you're interested, either as an individual or a couple, in having Susan as a counselor, email us, Susan at FreedHearts.org, Susan at FreedHearts.org, and she will talk to you more about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you wanted to say on that? Or is it, okay. Well,
I just am really grateful for you.
No, you're going to sing me a love song or something?
No.
Aw.
Not on the air, but I love you.
Yeah. Well, that's my cue to sign off. We encourage you, as we conclude here, we want you to see the best in each other. See the best in each other. Come together. Be a couple. Don't forget that. Go through things together. Be kind to each other. Be kind and loving to yourself. Be yourself. See the best in yourself first and foremost. It has to start there. And wherever you are in your relationship, assume that it's safe. Again, we talked about that before, but start by loving yourself as you deserve. And you may be the only one at this point that's doing that, but it does start with that. It reminds you of how beloved you are and what you deserve. And you are beloved. Someone said that thanks for reminding me with every episode of how beloved I am. It's like, aw. So
true.
Again, you are beloved and we love you. Next week, we have a very special episode. It's for Mother's Day. And Susan has something special in mind. And so we will see you next week. We love you. Thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the Freed Hearts Podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant community for you at www.freedhearts.org. Just come say hello. And if you have questions or issues or comments about the podcast, things you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at podcast@freedhearts.org. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner, and you can find out more about her at heysaintsinner.com. Please share this, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and thanks for listening.